Imagine this. You just turned off the lights. Your room is quiet. Your phone is face down on the nightstand. You close your eyes, expecting sleep to come slowly, peacefully. But that's not what actually happens. The moment your eyelids shut, your brain begins one of the most extraordinary transformations in the natural world. Over the next 60 seconds, nearly 86 billion neurons will reorganize themselves. The part of your mind that keeps you aware of reality will slowly fade away. Your senses will begin disconnecting from the outside world. Time itself will start losing meaning. And before a single dream appears, your brain will perform a series of hidden changes that scientists are still trying to fully understand. What's even stranger is that you experience this every single night, roughly 25,000 times over the course of your life, and yet you'll remember almost none of it. So what really happens during the first minute after you fall asleep? Let's begin with the very first second. Second zero. Your eyes are closed. But contrary to what most people imagine, your brain doesn't suddenly switch off like flipping a light switch. In fact, at this exact moment, you're still completely awake. Your heart continues beating at its normal rhythm. Your lungs keep drawing in oxygen. The electrical activity inside your brain looks almost identical to what it did just a few seconds ago. You can still hear the faint hum of a fan, a car passing outside, someone walking in another room. If someone were to call your name right now, you'd probably answer without hesitation. From the outside, nothing appears different. But deep inside your brain, the transition has already begun. Scientists call this the sleep onset period, the brief but remarkable bridge between wakefulness and sleep. It's one of the least understood moments of human consciousness because it lasts for only a few seconds. Yet during that time, your brain begins changing the way it processes the entire world. For most of the day, your brain operates in a fast, organized rhythm known as beta waves. These electrical patterns dominate while you're working, talking, making decisions, or paying attention to your surroundings. Billions of neurons communicate in carefully timed networks, allowing you to think clearly and react instantly to whatever happens around you. But now something changes. Without you noticing, those rapid beta waves begin to fade. In their place, a slower rhythm starts to emerge. Scientists call these alpha waves. Alpha waves aren't unique to sleep. They appear whenever you're deeply relaxed, during meditation, while quietly daydreaming, or simply resting with your eyes closed. It's your brain's way of saying the outside world isn't as important anymore. This transition happens so naturally that most people never realize it's occurring. Yet it marks the beginning of one of the most dramatic shifts your brain will make all day. Researchers at the National Institutes of Health have found that during this stage, the brain gradually reduces the amount of attention it gives to incoming sensory information. It isn't shutting your senses off completely. Instead, it's beginning to decide which signals deserve your attention and which ones can safely be ignored. Think about that for a moment. Every second you're awake, your brain is bombarded with millions of pieces of information. The pressure of your clothes against your skin, the temperature of the room, the sound of distant traffic, the feeling of your heartbeat, the position of every muscle in your body. If your conscious mind paid attention to every one of those signals, you'd be overwhelmed almost instantly. Instead, your brain acts like the world's most advanced filter. As sleep approaches, that filter begins changing its priorities. The outside world slowly becomes less important. The inside world becomes more important. And this shift happens without your permission. Around 5 seconds after you close your eyes, another remarkable change begins. Your eyes, hidden beneath your eyelids, don't actually stop moving. They continue making small, slow, rolling motions as the muscles around them begin relaxing. Sleep researchers have observed these gentle movements for decades, and they're considered one of the earliest physical signs that the brain is preparing to disconnect from wakefulness. At the same time, another tiny change occurs, one that most people never notice. Your breathing becomes just slightly slower, not dramatically, just enough for your nervous system to recognize that you're entering a safer, calmer state. This change is controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the body's rest and digest mode. During the day, another system, the sympathetic nervous system, keeps you alert, ready to react if something unexpected happens. But as sleep begins, control gradually shifts. Your muscles loosen. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw unclenches. Even the tiny muscles in your face begin releasing tension you didn't realize you were holding. It's as though your entire body receives permission to stop standing guard. But here's something fascinating. Although your body is relaxing, your mind often feels surprisingly active. Have you ever noticed that the moment you try to fall asleep, random thoughts suddenly appear out of nowhere? A conversation from years ago, an embarrassing memory from school, tomorrow's shopping list, a song you haven't heard in months, a face you can't quite recognize. This isn't your imagination running wild. It's your brain beginning to reorganize itself. Neuroscientists believe that as the networks responsible for focused attention become less active, other networks, particularly the default mode network, become more dominant. This network is closely linked to memory, imagination, self-reflection, and spontaneous thought. In other words, the very systems that help you daydream during the day begin taking over as your conscious control fades away. This is why your thoughts start feeling less logical, less organized, more unpredictable. You may begin thinking about your childhood one moment, then suddenly imagine tomorrow's meeting, then picture a place you've never actually visited. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's changing modes. And this is only the beginning, because over the next few seconds, something even stranger starts happening. The clear boundary between reality and imagination begins to disappear. You won't realize it's happening. In fact, most people never do. But this brief moment is the doorway to one of the strangest experiences the human brain can create. And once you cross it, the world outside your bedroom will slowly fade away, replaced by images, sounds, and sensations that exist only inside your mind. And that's where the first true stage of sleep begins. You haven't fallen asleep. Not completely, but you aren't fully awake anymore either. You've entered one of the strangest states of consciousness the human brain can produce. A place where reality slowly loosens its grip and imagination begins taking control. Scientists call this stage N1, the lightest stage of sleep. It usually lasts only a few minutes, but during those first seconds, your brain undergoes changes so unusual that many people don't even realize they've crossed the line into sleep. In fact, if someone gently tapped your shoulder right now and asked if you had been asleep, there's a good chance you'd confidently answer, no, even though brain scans would say otherwise. That's because consciousness doesn't disappear all at once. It fades, slowly, like the sun setting below the horizon. One moment, you're completely aware of your surroundings. The next, that awareness begins slipping away, piece by piece. Around 10 seconds after your eyes close, your brain's electrical activity changes again. The relaxed alpha waves that dominated just moments ago begin fading into slower theta waves. These waves are the signature of early sleep. Unlike the fast, organized rhythms of wakefulness, theta waves are quieter, slower, and far less predictable. Different parts of the brain begin communicating in new patterns, almost as if they're reorganizing the day's information before deeper sleep begins. But here's where things become fascinating. As these new brain rhythms spread, your thoughts begin changing in ways you rarely notice. Instead of following a logical sequence, they become fragmented. A sentence starts, but never finishes. A memory appears, only to dissolve into something completely unrelated. A familiar face suddenly blends with a place you've never seen before. There's no obvious reason for any of it, and that's exactly what scientists expect to see. Researchers believe this is the moment when the brain gradually releases its tight control over rational thinking, allowing memory networks and imagination to interact more freely than they ever could during full wakefulness. It's almost as though the brain is testing its dream-making machinery before the real dreams begin. Then something even stranger happens. Images appear, not full dreams, just flashes. A mountain, a stranger's face, a crowded train, a bright hallway, a single tree standing alone in a field. These images often last less than a second. Most people forget them immediately, yet nearly everyone experiences them. Scientists call these brief visual experiences hypnagogic imagery. Despite the complicated name, they're surprisingly common. Studies suggest that almost everyone experiences hypnagogic images at some point, even if they never remember them. Some people see colors. Others hear voices. Some feel as though they're floating. Others experience the unmistakable sensation of falling. You probably felt it yourself. You're drifting towards sleep. Everything feels calm. Then suddenly, your entire body jerks. Your heart races. Your eyes snap open. For a split second, it feels as though you've just fallen off a cliff. But you never moved. So what happened? For decades, scientists have debated exactly why these sudden muscle jerks occur. They're known as hypnic jerks, and although they're harmless, no single explanation fully accounts for them. One theory suggests that as your muscles rapidly relax, your brain briefly misinterprets the sensation as falling. Another proposes that it's simply the nervous system checking that your muscles are functioning correctly before deeper sleep begins. Whatever the reason, nearly 70% of people experience hypnic jerks at least occasionally. It's one of the last reminders that your waking body is still letting go. But while your muscles relax, another part of your brain is making a far more important decision. Deep inside your brain sits a small structure called the thalamus. It's not especially large, but it acts as one of the most important gateways in your entire nervous system. Almost everything you see, hear, touch, or feel passes through the thalamus before reaching your conscious awareness. During the day, it's incredibly busy. Every sound, every flash of light, every vibration, every tiny sensation from your skin. The thalamus constantly decides what information deserves your attention. But now, its priorities begin changing. Researchers using functional brain imaging have observed that as sleep begins, communication between the thalamus and the cerebral cortex gradually decreases. In simple terms, your brain starts closing the gate. Not completely, just enough. The ticking clock becomes less important. The distant traffic fades. The soft movement of air across your face barely registers anymore. Your senses aren't shutting down. They're being filtered more aggressively than ever before. Think of it like lowering the volume on the outside world. Not because the sounds disappear, but because your brain decides they no longer matter. Of course, not every sound is ignored. If a smoke alarm suddenly goes off, or someone calls your name loudly, your brain can instantly reopen those gates. Even while sleeping, your survival systems remain remarkably alert. It's a delicate balance. Sleep deeply enough to recover. Stay aware enough to survive. And your brain has spent millions of years perfecting that balance. Around 20 seconds into sleep onset, time begins changing too. Not time itself, your perception of it. Have you ever closed your eyes for what felt like just a minute, only to wake up an hour later? Or drifted off while watching television, convinced you hadn't actually fallen asleep? That's because one of the first abilities your brain begins losing is its ability to accurately measure the passage of time. The internal clock that constantly tracks each passing second grows quieter. Moments stretch. Others disappear entirely. The smooth flow of conscious experience begins breaking into disconnected fragments. It's one of the earliest signs that the waking mind is giving way to something entirely different. And although you still haven't entered deep sleep, the person who was fully aware of the room just moments ago is already beginning to fade. Because in the next stage, your brain will do something extraordinary. It will start deciding which memories deserve to last forever and which ones will quietly disappear by morning. By now, something remarkable has happened. You haven't noticed it. You couldn't. But the version of you that was carefully paying attention to the room just a minute ago has almost completely disappeared. The sounds outside your window, the weight of the blanket, the position of your body, they've all faded into the background. Not because they've stopped existing, because your brain has decided they no longer deserve your attention. This is the point where sleep stops being a feeling and becomes a biological reality. You are now crossing into stage N2, the stage that will occupy nearly half of your entire night's sleep. Most people think sleep is simply the absence of wakefulness. But neuroscience tells a very different story. Sleep isn't passive. It's one of the busiest periods your brain experiences all day. While your body appears perfectly still, billions of neurons begin coordinating with astonishing precision, performing tasks that simply can't happen while you're awake. And one of the first jobs on that list is deciding what to remember. Throughout the day, your brain collects an overwhelming amount of information. Every conversation, every face you pass, every notification you glance at, every smell, sound, and tiny detail of your environment. If your brain tried to permanently store all of it, it would quickly become overwhelmed. So instead, it waits. Only after sleep begins does your brain start sorting through the day's experiences. Researchers at Harvard Medical School and the University of California, Berkeley have shown that sleep plays a critical role in memory consolidation, the process of strengthening important memories while allowing less useful information to fade. Imagine your brain as the world's largest library. During the day, books are thrown onto every available shelf as fast as they arrive. Nothing is organized. Nothing is filed. Sleep is when the librarians finally come to work. They decide which books belong in the permanent collection and which can be quietly removed. That forgotten conversation with a stranger? Probably discarded. The name of someone you just met? Maybe kept. The emotional moment that changed your day? Almost certainly preserved. This invisible sorting process is one reason sleep is so essential for learning. It's not just that you feel tired without sleep. It's that your brain loses the opportunity to organize what you've experienced. But memory isn't the only thing changing. Something else begins happening inside your skull. Tiny bursts of electrical activity suddenly appear across the brain. Scientists call them sleep spindles. For years, these mysterious bursts puzzled researchers. They last only a fraction of a second, yet they occur hundreds of times throughout the night. Today, many neuroscientists believe sleep spindles help protect sleep by blocking unimportant sensory information while strengthening newly formed memories. It's almost as if your brain is quietly locking the doors. Outside distractions stay outside. Inside work continues uninterrupted. Then another pattern appears. Large, powerful electrical waves sweep across the brain. These are known as K complexes. Unlike the rapid activity of wakefulness, K complexes are slow and dramatic, involving millions of neurons firing together. Researchers believe they serve multiple purposes. They may help suppress unnecessary awakenings. They may assist memory formation. They may even prepare the brain for deeper stages of sleep. The truth is, scientists are still uncovering exactly why they occur. But one thing is clear: your sleeping brain is anything but inactive. In fact, it may be more organized than it was while you were awake. Meanwhile, the rest of your body is changing too. Your heart beats more slowly. Your blood pressure falls. Your breathing settles into a steady rhythm. Your muscles relax even further, reducing unnecessary movement and conserving energy. Your body temperature begins dropping, creating the ideal environment for deep sleep later in the night. All of this happens automatically. You never choose to slow your heartbeat. You never consciously lower your body temperature. Your brain quietly orchestrates every adjustment without asking for permission. And perhaps the most astonishing part is this: every night, you willingly surrender control of nearly every system keeping you alive. You trust an organ weighing only about 3 pounds to regulate your breathing, monitor your heartbeat, maintain your temperature, repair damaged tissues, strengthen your immune system, and prepare you for another day. It performs thousands of complex tasks while your conscious mind is completely absent. Think about that. For roughly 1/3 of your life, the person you think of as you steps aside, yet your body continues working with breathtaking precision. This raises a deeper question. What exactly is consciousness? Where does it go when you fall asleep? Does it simply switch off? Or does it transform into something else entirely? Neuroscientists still don't have a complete answer. Despite decades of research, consciousness remains one of science's greatest mysteries. We know which parts of the brain become more active. We know which networks grow quieter. We can measure electrical activity with incredible accuracy. But the subjective experience, the feeling of being aware, remains difficult to explain. Every night, it quietly fades. Every morning, it returns. And no one can fully explain why. By the end of your first minute of sleep, you've crossed an invisible border. The outside world has become distant. Time has begun to lose its meaning. Your memories are already being sorted. Your senses are heavily filtered. Your body is shifting from action to repair. The journey has only just begun. Over the next several hours, your brain will cycle through light sleep, deep sleep, and vivid dreaming multiple times, each stage performing its own essential role. Without them, learning becomes harder. Emotions become unstable. The immune system weakens. The body struggles to heal. Sleep isn't wasted time. It's one of the most productive things your brain ever does. Tonight, when you turn off the lights and close your eyes, remember this. What feels like doing nothing is actually one of the most complex biological transformations on Earth. In less than 60 seconds, your brain begins disconnecting you from reality, not to abandon you, but to protect you, repair you, and prepare you for tomorrow. It quietly decides which memories you'll keep, which experiences you'll forget, which connections will grow stronger. And it does all of this without asking for your attention. Perhaps that's the strangest part of all. We spend nearly a third of our lives asleep, yet most of us never stop to wonder what our brains are doing while we're gone. Every night, you surrender consciousness. Every morning, you wake up believing you're the same person. But in subtle ways, your brain has changed you. It has repaired itself, reorganized itself, learned from the day you just lived. So the next time someone says you're doing nothing while you sleep, you'll know the truth. Your brain is doing some of its most important work. If you enjoyed exploring the hidden science behind everyday life, make sure to subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of the human brain, the body, and the universe. Because sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries aren't happening somewhere out in space. They're happening inside you every single day.